the chief scientific officer, Sir Patrick Vallance himself, in the Times newspaper, under the heading Thunderer, says they don't just look at the worst possible outcomes, they look across a full range. He also says the real danger is either side playing data games for political purposes.
Well, I think, I don't know what Sage get up to behind closed doors, but, if he thinks that what matters is what comes out to the public and how it seems to the public and how it seems to the government and ministers making decisions. And if Sir Patrick Vallance really thinks that they've made a balanced sort of view on this, well, I suggest he goes back and reads the paper number 48 that was produced by Imperial College last Friday, which gave us this sort of really severe prediction that we could have 4,000 to 6,000 deaths a day by January, far worse than the previous spike.
I completely accept that point. I completely accept that point, and I follow the Sage narrative with interest. But it takes me to my main point, and I've read the piece that you've written in both the Mail and the Telegraph. See, I think you're blaming the wrong person. I think you should be blaming the politicians who look at that database, look at those papers, and say we're going to go down that road, or Drakeford does, or Sturgeon does, whereas Johnson says we're going to go down that road. It's the politicians who make the call, not Sage.
Well, absolutely. Of course, the politicians make the call, but it is, it's very important that Sage puts balanced information to them. And I haven't sat in on the cabinet meeting. I don't know exactly what they've said, but according to reports, the reason we're not in lockdown this week is because several cabinet ministers just had the confidence to challenge Sage, to ask them the right questions and to think, well, look, hang on, there's a wider story here. And, what about this South African data, which says it's not as serious as some of these sort of really, doom-laden scenarios that Sage were putting out. And I think if, it hadn't been... But, yeah, of course, politicians make the decisions and, to give Sage a credit, every time a Sage person is on the TV or on the radio, they make that point.